you picked up some strawberries from the local farmer's market,
Yep.
picked up some from Costco, put them both in the fridge, and compared how long they lasted. And again, this is something that I've never heard anybody else address. And a lot of us now, because Costco is carrying more and more organic produce, organic packaged healthy foods, which is controversial, but still there's some things that we buy in packages from there that are organic and good choices. But let's come back to the strawberries. Talk about what you found and then why.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I did. And the strawberries from the farmer's market within 3 days were just a bed of mold. The mold was just having such a great day eating the strawberries that they, quite frankly, were inedible. But the strawberries from Costco were pristine, and they remained pristine for literally a month. Now, if a bug or a bacteria or a mold won't eat those strawberries, then what the heck do I want to put them in my mouth? And what compounds have been sprayed on them or is in the packaging that is preventing, natural eating of these things, natural decay? I've done recently an experiment with bagged organic vegetables, salads. And sadly, the exact same thing happened. Two of my bags were pristine 3 weeks after the sell-by date, unchanged. And we are just awash with what I wrote about in The Plant Paradox, but what I write about in every book, these endocrine disrupting plastic chemicals. And how we've used these things to make our life convenient and easy is unfortunately having unbelievably bad consequences on our kids' health, on our health, and just for convenience sake. And yeah, it is a bit more pain in the neck to buy a whole head of lettuce and take it home and chop it up and wash it, but it doesn't take long. And what the heck, you're mad at the end of the day. Get yourself 2 salad spinners. I have one that's a pump handle, and I have one that's a lawnmower thing like this. And you can have a great time, literally, getting your yayas out of, whamming your salad spinner and pulling your salad spinner. And it'll take you 30 seconds to do the work that somebody else did, and you won't be affected by these forever chemicals that are disrupting our hormonal system. And yeah, the organic salad thing really tipped me over, because I went, holy cow, I bought organic, and when he mentioned the company, I went, what the heck? Why didn't these things rot? And it's because of what they're washed with. You don't have to declare anything on these things.
What this reminds me of is when BPA became a thing and everybody started avoiding it, they went to something else that was toxic.
BPS.
I think it was BPS, yeah. So
Just as toxic.
It's like, yeah, these are organic products and there are certain regulations, but it sounds like these companies are starting to bend and find things that are probably unhealthy that still fit within that paradigm of organic. And you mentioned it's either something they're spraying or washing, or they're the packaging itself. So still mystery here. Hopefully conversations like this and people starting to think about it and demand answers can unravel more of it. But to be honest, again, this isn't something I thought of until I heard you talk about it. So it's just fascinating. And it's got me thinking about, what I buy and how I buy it, because my wife and I, we always talk about how everything again, we're going to pick on Costco, but I don't know if it's because they're moving so much product or what we're talking about here, but you go get their berries or their salads and they just seem to stay fresh forever. And all the produce is just so pristine to start with. So, but again, the grocery stores are probably doing the same thing too. They're just not moving as much produce. So anyways, this is something hopefully that the conversation can continue and we can learn more about what they're doing.
Yeah, there's no incentive to tell us about these chemicals because even the EPA thinks that these chemicals are in such minute amounts that even though they're recognized as endocrine disruptors, they're in such small amounts that, come on, it can't be harmful to you. Well, the problem with these is they are not normal hormones and they don't behave as normal hormones. And I've written about this. These will attach to hormone receptors. And normally, let's take estrogen, for example. Estrogen will attach to an estrogen receptor and it will give information to that receptor. And then it will detach. And okay, done the job. I've communicated to this receptor and I'm gone. These pseudo hormones attach to the receptor, but then never detach. So what we're learning, sadly, is you can have microscopic, nanomolecules of these things, but because they never detach, it builds up to become a really big problem that you can't, measure just by saying, oh, there's such a little amount, it really doesn't amount to anything. And that's, and luckily that was the thing that was happening, early on where these plants were putting this stuff out into rivers and all of a sudden you had three-headed salamanders and frogs that, were no longer producing. And it's like, oh, what the heck? And these were all these endocrine disrupting chemicals. So, and it gets worse and worse. I talk about there's a fascinating herbicide that is banned in the United States to use on crops, but it's a really useful herbicide if you're growing oats. Oats have a long stalk, and oats are pretty heavy. And so a good wind, if the stalk is long enough, will break the stalk, and there goes your profit. There's one herbicide that slows the growth of the oat stalk so that it's not very high. If you're an oat grower, that's a really good product. The problem is it's carcinogenic and it's also an endocrine disruptor. And so the EPA in their wisdom said, you can't do it. Now it's legal in other countries and we import a lot of our oats. So the EPA said, well, I understand that, it's there, and here's the parts per million that we'll allow. And it's pretty low. Lo and behold, during a previous administration, the EPA was told to relax that rule for that particular chemical. And the Environmental Working Group recently had an independent agency look at the amount of this chemical on our oats. And some of our favorite oat products, and I won't name names, have over 400 times the legal limit of this carcinogen and endocrine disrupting chemical, thanks to the EPA loosening its limits. And it's not on the label.
If you enjoyed that clip, press here for the full episode. I'll see you over there.
People who have the highest omega-3 index as they age have the biggest brains and the biggest areas of memory, the hippocampus. People who have the lowest omega-3 index have the literal